Were you recording when you went to the bathroom?
No.
Damn it.
Why'd you sing me a song or something?
Yeah, song about old piss boy.
Toodaloo.
Old piss boy is back.
Yeah, got all the peeing out of the way, and here I am. Good water.
Now that's the power of clean.
Cool, clear water.
It's cool. It's clear. Oh yeah, I'm doing the intro. Welcome back to Rated Radio with your hosts, Rayburn Alexander and Shane Wyndham. Shane, catch everyone up on your world.
I will, in just a moment.
You're not recording, are you?
No, I am. It's just the headphones were stretched to the max, and I didn't feel like going for 2 hours with headphones tugging at my head. I'm feeling great, so you know. Our first guest appearance on the Semi-Friendly podcast is now a thing people can listen to, and I realize I'm extremely biased here, but it's a conversation I'll forever be grateful that we all got together for. The second half of that conversation should be out before what you're listening to right now goes live, so definitely give those a listen if you want to hear us cut loose. Hopefully I wasn't too loose during the second half. Pretty intoxicated, if memory serves.
I was going to say, are you giving context clues to our visit?
I believe so. And before I ask how you've been, I need to give you some hell.
Okay.
I'm hearing whispers that it wasn't you, but your cousin Megan, who got the thong panties that one Christmas. So what's the deal here? Did you get panties a different Christmas? End up going home with Megan's coochie container? Or just reimagine an entire gifting experience?
Well, I know I ended up with underwear, and I was descriptive in saying what they look like, and I know for a fact that I opened them, or they were opened at my mom and Papa's house. And if that was the year that Megan got underwear, and I guess our aunt didn't let her take them home, my mother might have let me.
I feel like maybe your mom snatched them or something.
Because I definitely wore them. So, thank you, Megan's Secret Santa.
Passing along the coochie container.
Yeah. They got used, so. And the cooch was contained.
Until it was tickled, at which point, who even knows?
Okay, now it's a little early for
ruined
that.
panties. How are things with you, Ray?
Well, you know, it's a new year, new me, they say. But turns out it's new year, same me, and I'm fine with it. One depressing note, although you won't care, is they took The Office off Netflix, so...
Big tears. Big tears. That is kind of sad because I was almost done with the show when we stopped keeping up. Mm-hmm. But I did see it moved to Peacock.
It did.
Which one? What the fuck? Anyway, but they have added bonus deleted sceens and stuff that have never been seen before.
That is really cool that they added all that extra commentary of the cast going back and rewatching the episodes, giving behind the scenes footage. So yeah, that is cool, but it's going to forever put a dampen on my background noise, knowing that I can't just turn it on Netflix anymore, because I believe Peacock is a paid streaming service.
Yeah, I don't really know. Okay. I remember when the Joe Rogan podcast said they were going Spotify exclusive, thinking that was kind of crazy, and Spotify is a pretty big platform at this point.
Yes.
How big does your show have to be when you move to something like Peacock? And I'm like, what the fuck is Peacock?
Well, it's NBC's network, right?
I don't have any idea.
Okay.
Do they all have streaming services now?
I think that's where a lot of cable is going, especially those like ABC, NBC.
I feel like all the rinky-dink channels are just on Prime trying to sell you on, sign up for a free week of Nick hits and that sort of shit.
You're better about Prime than I am.
Yeah.
Oh, good old Prime Video.
I watch it a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Because I'm investing more and more money into it every week. So that's good reason to go there. Anyway, that's enough of our bullshit, don't you think?
Yeah, I think we should roll the intro.
It's so cold in the D. Your thoughts?
The new Housewives of Detroit.
Lord. So first up here is a list that I chose, and you seemed rather off-put by my list for some reason. I don't know why.
I love that came across through text.
It did.
It's true. I was a little bit because you get so deep when it comes to some of these lists. I really have to rack my brain.
Just a reminder to listeners that I don't tickle anything of hers.
True.
We established before hitting record for whatever reason.
Yes.
There was a tickle in your throat. That's what it was.
And you said it wasn't you.
What's the list?
Songs that changed your taste in music.
Yes.
Yes.
Why don't you start us off?
All right. It's Dear Prudence by the Beatles. I could have easily said Hey Jude, but I think that Dear Prudence was a better representation of, venturing out into listening to music that I had interest in that really wasn't influenced by my parents or other people around me. So there you go.
Cool.
What's first on your list?
Cool true story. I feel like I've heard that one before.
We have a podcast together and we're family. You can just get over it and act like you've heard it for the first time.
My first pick is also quite predictable for those who know me, but it's Under the Moon by ICP. That's the Insane Clown Posse for all of you young'uns who don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, all of these picks from me will have video counterparts on our YouTube mentions playlist. Laugh all you want, haters. But the discovery of ICP is what really started my horizons expanding by leaps and bounds. It was the first time I remember knowing just how far from normal music could get and still manage being worthwhile. I shudder to think how limited my taste in music would be if not for the Great Milenko album. Before that, I was someone who was content to take whatever the radio gave me, and while there's something to be said for the simplicity of only really knowing radio hits, I can safely say, decades later here, that some of the best material, even for artists you love hearing on the radio, never gets played by mainstream outlets. You just never hear most of the goods on the radio. If you actually sit down with albums, that's something you know. A fun factoid, I own some ICP shirts. And
you do?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a story here, jackass.
It's the sarcasm.
I tend to forget that I'm wearing them, as you well know, because I wear shirts that say things like, don't lock the back door.
Yeah, okay.
Go shit a rainbow, you positive fuck. Sorry. I was going somewhere here. As a result of forgetting that I'm wearing these shirts, I've been approached by more than a few juggalos in my time. Most memorable for me was getting sick after riding too many rides at Six Flags. I was one of those unfortunates who didn't make it to the restroom, and as I'm throwing up in a ditch at Six Flags, I hear all these ghetto voices shouting things like, "Whoop whoop, ninja! Too much tilt-a-whirl, fam!" Ridiculous, but consistently some of the nicest and most fun-loving people on the planet when I run into them. They're never like, let's go punch a motherfucker in the face, no.
But it's true, but they sometimes are like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, you just never had personal experience.
Yeah, it's if you cross people, some people hold back and, oh, no. I get the same thing with like rednecks driving big trucks. Like
that's very true. Yeah, there's dicks everywhere, regardless of your race, creed,
the
or religion.
In your throat. It's pretty disgusting to me that the FBI considers juggalos gang members. Mm-hmm. It's a lot like saying wrestling fans are terrorists. But that's probably coming in the future. Who the fuck knows?
Who knows?
Because Americans are about as propagandized as people can be.
Are we getting political now?
I may have just gotten a little political. I'm sorry. What's your next pick? My
next pick is Let's Stay Together by Al Green. Al Green is the shit, in case you didn't know. He was the first, I guess, kind of Motown-y artist. I would consider him R&B Motown, that I really got into. And this song especially, I put it on repeat all the time. So it kind of opened up a lot of like our other artists like Teddy Pendergrass and Barry White and Otis Redding, So Al Green was the start of the branch that led to my love of 70s Motown or 60s and 70s Motown and R&B. So
I find that particular branch kind of funky. Yeah. I've never been really big on Al Green. I don't dislike his music. I will say there is one on Code's R&B playlist. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure it's an Al Green song that was just amazing. So maybe it's one of those artists that I need to get past the popular hits and see what's there.
Well, maybe, just maybe, listening to this podcast might give you that opportunity.
And it changed your taste in music?
Yes.
So that's why it's there.
Yes.
Not for me to judge, like the Beatles.
Uh-huh. But you gonna go ahead and judge anyway?
No.
Just slightly. Okay.
We just have different experiences, that's all.
That's fine.
Mine is a little weirder.
All right, Juggalo, what's your next pick?
Toy Soldiers by Martika. I'm not kidding either.
Okay.
I credit this song with jump-starting my love of 80s music. And when I say 80s, I mean that sweeping stadium synth sound. Having been born into the 80s, finding gems in this genre always feels like meeting up with an old friend. Back in the day, they had these mailers and tearaway ads in magazines that let you get a handful of CDs for free. Did you ever see any of that?
Hell no, but I wish I had.
Oh my damn. I quickly figured out that these were different from other marketing gimmicks that we were all inundated with, because you didn't have to provide more than a name and an address, and they'd send you free shit.
Oh, okay. I have seen a little of that, but I was, me being a youngin', it was more like Nickelodeon slime and shit.
Right.
Okay.
But these CD companies, they were trying to charge you whack-ass prices on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
Through follow-up orders. They'd send you like catalogs and shit, but I'd sign everyone and their dog up for these free CDs. And sorry, but the company could just get fucked with their poor business model. Anyway, I remember getting really excited about getting these 80s Billboard hits CDs for free at one point, and I used to blare this track as loud as I could on my entirely too powerful stereo that your parents got me. If I still had the stereo, I'd probably still do that from time to time with this song. Got to be the single mix though, not the original album recording. Nice. I know, too specific, right? But
very specific, but I ain't mad at it.
It did broaden my horizons. Miss Al Green, what's next?
Next on my list is Scarborough Fair by Simon and Garfunkel. This was the start of music like this for me. I didn't have parents that listened to any Simon and Garfunkel, really. And I'd be lying if I said that The Graduate didn't introduce it to me, which, if you've listened to our past episodes, does anyone else think that The Graduate is funny?
I think it's odd.
Okay. I find it funny. Maybe that's just my morbid sense of humor. But anyway, Scarborough Fair by Simon and Garfunkel, The Graduate, the whole movie is pretty much soundtracked by Simon and Garfunkel. And this was just one of the standouts for me.
It's really sad because I have a lot of appreciation for Simon and Garfunkel. Mm-hmm. But when you say Scarborough Fair, because I probably know the song, I just don't know it hearing the name. So when you say Scarborough Fair and I'm thinking of an artist that did something like Mrs. Robinson,
yeah,
it sounds like it's going to end up sounding like a Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
No, it's just literally, it's kind of whimsical, obviously, with the title like Scarborough Fair, but it's also has a level of melancholy to it, which kind of attributes to the movie. I mean, it's basically played when he's going through his like kind of depressive state where he's just kind of going through the actions of being with Mrs. Robinson. Spoiler alert.
He was fucking.
Yeah, he wasn't happy. So this is kind of the thing where the music that plays during the summer of nothing for him. So it's not my favorite Simon and Garfunkel song. That's for later on down the road if we ever get to them. But it's definitely one that stands out to being different for me. So
he was fucking.
Yes, he was. Your next pick
is The Wet Dream by Lords of Acid.
All right.
Speaking of fucking, or not fucking, if you will.
Uh-huh.
Dream, obviously. The discovery of Lords of Acid really punched me in the face. Before them, I wasn't big on electronic music. They also have lyrics that are purposely taboo, and I found that refreshing. Explicitly sexual music is now one of my favorite things as an adult who's not ashamed to say that I love sex and hope for less sex shaming of pretty much any consensual sex acts in the future. Side note for the dummies who take that the wrong way, children and animals cannot consent. So that's not what I'm condoning here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
anyway,
you so much.
I went with The Wet Dream because I wanted to share my first wet dream story.
Yes, tell it!
Who doesn't love the embarrassment of others, right?
Hey, we're not here. New year, no shame, man.
So,
let's go.
I was staying over with Corey. His mother was living with a female couple at the time. Lesbians, if you will. So, already off to a start that's,
This is going to get interesting. This is either going to take a turn that I think it's going to take or something completely off the rails. Looking forward to it. Go ahead.
We'd all rented movies. Corey and I were quite excited to see Showgirls because it was the first NC-17 movie we'd ever even heard of.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we were like 11 at the time. But the adults made us watch The Breakfast Club, which they'd rented for the first time before we got to see Showgirls. And while I don't ever remember being that turned on by a movie up to that point, it didn't escape me that Showgirls, the movie itself, wasn't very interesting, especially because it followed what wound up being one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
You want the sex. You want the dream sex. I know you do.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're looking at me disappointedly like, why don't you get to the...
I'm waiting in anticipation, man. You're toying with me now.
So we eventually go to sleep, and I have this super vivid dream about a one-man orgy in the library from the Breakfast Club.
Okay.
I was the man, to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
This was also the night we were hanging out on the porch, and I saw the largest shooting star of my life streak across the sky. It was gargantuan. And the plateau in my orgy dream was also gargantuan. I woke up on the couch, and of course I jizzed all in my pants. Luckily, no one was awake yet. I had a change of clothes, and the mess was pretty contained. And now you know more than you ever wanted to know.
Oh, what do I do in it? Sleep in a pig.
I'd seen porn before that, too. I just didn't own it, and it was always like accidental, like someone would be playing it. We weren't supposed to see it.
So a mixture of The Breakfast Club and Showgirls and a shooting star is what did it for you, huh?
Yep. One man fucking in the library from the Breakfast Club.
You know what? If you have a gravestone, I'm going to have that written on your gravestone. That's going to be the epitome of you. Showgirls, Breakfast Club, and a shooting star.
Joseph is a quarantine fucking tonight. That's his jam.
Yeah.
Mine's going to be library fucking tonight.
You know you have to create that.
There's a subset of like porn videos that you can find where it's just people that go into public libraries and sit at the computers and just flash their junk or masturbate or whatever.
Yes, I am aware that exists.
I don't usually like that sort of thing, but the whole library shtick just gets me now for some unknown reason. I don't know.
Now I feel uncomfortable knowing your wife and thinking she could pull off a librarian look.
I did marry her.
You did. I know. You put a ring on it. Anyway, moving on to next on my list, if we can even move past your story. It's Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. I don't think I need to give any explanation, especially to you. I think that there's an understanding of why this makes my list, and anyone else that's a Pink Floyd fan. There's a lot to choose from here when thinking about how Pink Floyd has changed your taste in music or how they've influenced your taste in music. This is just what first did it for me. So I don't think I need to give a whole lot of detailed explanation. I know it didn't make me jizz, so.
Do you like more than that song with regard to Pink Floyd?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, I had a lot that I could choose from. This was just my intro into Pink Floyd. So I could have easily gone with Great Gig in the Sky. I also really like, what is the one off the movie where the flowers are fucking? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. I just have trouble placing the song from the film.
Yeah. So that and The Trial. I really like The Trial, too.
So a lot of The Wall.
I also like Wish You Were Here, Dark Side of the Moon, too. I'm just giving examples of that because The Wall was my first introduction to Pink Floyd. Because my dad owned The Wall, and it used to, like, Another Brick in the Wall freaked us out a lot. Mm-hmm. So having the visuals in the beginning, The Wall was my intro to Pink Floyd.
Yeah, that would be fucked up.
Yeah. What's next on your list?
It's a Pink Floyd song.
What?
It really is.
Same place in our list.
Mm-hmm. My intro was the live version of Hey You from Pulse. Mm-hmm. And then I remember hearing the last track from the Division Bell, High Hopes. That's what it's called. But this has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
These are songs that change your taste in music, and my next pick is Shine On You Crazy Diamond, parts 1 through 5 by Pink Floyd, a song I'm sure Rayburn wants to hear nothing about because I may have thrown a fit in a hot tub at one point demanding to hear it.
No, I don't recall a moment in time where that occurred.
So this song is what killed my hatred of super long songs. I used to see like 10 to 20 minute time. Nope, not for me, but this made that all go away. Still not usually my favorite thing, but a handful of them are amazing. This is one of them. This is also a song that, as you know, Rayburn, I love listening to while high.
Yes.
My Aunt Jennifer once told me she liked getting high to this song, and boy, was she onto something. When I first tried the combination, I felt like a second-rate stoner because she almost never smoked pot, yet knew of this greatness.
And know that it was good to listen to while high.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And listening to music is still my favorite thing to do while high.
Agreed.
Though I've rarely touched marijuana in my adult life, I have a running list of potential stoner classics at the ready for trying on those rare occasions. What's your next pick?
Future episode? I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
It might happen.
Future special? I don't know. Who knows?
I don't want to be high for that episode, though. I'm afraid of all the cuts I'd have to do after the fact of me just sitting there like, so quiet right now.
Next on my list is... God.
What was that?
That was my boob and the cord and this. Okay, I'm gonna quit standing up so tall.
Titty combo got loud.
Next on my list is Dance This Mess Around by B-52s. If you know who the B-52s are, then you know they're weird.
Can you say that title again?
Dance This Mess Around.
Okay.
Did it come out incorrectly?
I didn't know what you'd said. It sounded like Dan's Us Mess Around, or no. I was lost.
Dance This Mess Around by the B-52s. The B-52s are strange. That's kind of their shtick. But if you think that the only thing that they have to offer is Planet Claire or Rock Lobster, it can get a lot weirder. And
yes, it can.
A lot better. Another one that I would suggest is Private Idaho, My Own Private Idaho. That's a really good song. But this song kind of it's more normal for them, but still has those touches of strange and spacey. You know, if you think of the B-52s, kind of think about the Jetsons on acid.
The Jetsons on acid. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a completely different band, and I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I tie them together in my head. Have you ever seen the rhythm guitarist from the Go-Go's? I think it's the rhythm guitarist, and she looks so much like Winona Ryder. At times it's scary.
God, now I'm trying to remember her name. I actually know her name.
Well, if only you could recall her name.
Because my mom was into the Go-Go's, and those are the two that Belinda Carlisle is the main one that I remember, but I also remember the guitarist, and I don't know why her name's escaping me at the moment.
I love when people say they know something,
and then they don't.
Clearly they don't know it. It's like, is it Kel from Good Burger? Oh, I know some of these words. It's that thing.
But he won't actually read them?
Right.
Nice. What's your last pick for this half of our list?
Total Immortal by AFI. Thought I hated punk for ages. Turns out I love it. All I needed was to see some super goth, super melodic geniuses throw down. After seeing the Total Immortal video, I went to Sam Goody in the mall trying to find it on disc. They didn't have it, but they did have one of AFI's LPs called The Art of Drowning. Hearing that thing for the first time is something I liken to seeing the Grand Canyon in person for the first time. Amazing. I remember Corey telling me at one point that he hated AFI because he couldn't understand the lyrics, and I always thought that was a real shame because the lyrics are essentially poetry. He also had a major crush on one of our cousin's best friends. She was very much a dark sider, and I used to get a kick out of watching him pretend to like AFI when she'd turn it on because I knew he hated it. Mm-hmm. And maybe he grew to love it or something, but I never found out about it.
Okay. Now you got my mind racing, but I'm not going to dwell on it.
You like punk?
I do. I like AFI.
Punk is good. AFI is good. I look forward to covering them because I'm guessing your knowledge of them is relegated to a lot of Miss Murder radio hit type things.
Mm-hmm. I actually owned I can't remember the title of it, but I owned the Miss Murder CD when it came out. But yeah, that's when I was listening to a lot of that stuff. So yeah, maybe one day we'll get to cover them in the future. One day. But today we're here to talk about other artists, are we not?
Yep. Speaking of one of my favorite artists, we will shift away from AFI in this list and talk about my pick for this season, which was a wild card. I don't know what to anticipate from Miss Ray Ray over here, but I went with Nightwish.
Yes.
Nightwish! Which is a Finnish symphonic metal band.
Yes. And the first album that we covered was Oceanborn from 1998. This was my bottom album.
This was my middle pick.
I gave it 2 5s.
10 5s.
Damn you and your perfect ratings. My top track was Swanheart.
Mine was Gethsemane. By the way, I always feel like a shill with perfect ratings now. Like, I fucking did it again. It's perfect ratings.
No, it makes me have to go which you hate that. So you're kind of damning yourself. So
they're genuine too. I always look for like a 4. I'll go back like, God damn it. Put a 4 on there just so you don't get the noise, you know? Like,
I will say that I have a little bit of remorse when it came to my almost perfect ratings, like Prince's Purple Rain album, I go back and I think all the time, oh, was Computer Blue that bad? Couldn't I have just given it a 5? I mean, and Computer Blue's not bad. I didn't think it was a 5, and I could have had a perfect rating. I was so close to being able to say I had a perfect rating if I would have just gotten over not being able to give it a 5.
Well, and that's the thing. You don't want to change your opinion just based on one track, so
I know.
Can't lie and give it a 5. But luckily with Oceanborn, I like it all. I didn't always.
Yeah.
What was your bottom track?
Devil in the Deep Dark Ocean.
Yeah, I had a feeling. Mine was Moondance, but only because it has no lyrics. It's an instrumental.
Mm-hmm. Anything you want to say about this album?
Yeah. Walking in the Air is a cover from the Snowman film. So
that's the name of the film? The Snowman?
The Snowman. It's a movie I recommended on our Christmas special.
I thought it might have been.
And Walking in the Air gets sung by I think a little boy in that film, and Nightwish covered it. And it's not like a Faith Hill, Where Are You Christmas sort of thing. I actually like both pretty equally. The bonus track we didn't cover for this album, Sleeping Sun, was actually the first Nightwish song I ever heard. And that's it for me. You have any notes?
I do. The only thing that I said about this album was, for me, I thought it was lackluster vocals to heavy guitar. I thought it could have been done better, and it was a little unbalanced. My notes improve as we move along. So let's move on to our next album, which is Wishmaster from 2000.
You don't have to couch shit. You know that, right?
I know
your opinion can just be what it is.
I know that. I'm saying how I feel. I didn't stroke your ego when it came to Nightwish, so just calm down. Sit tight. It'll be all right. Anyway.
Okay. Puppet Master.
Wishmaster was second to last for me.
This was my runner-up.
I gave it 3 5s.
11 5s.
Another perfect rating. My top track was Deep, Silent, Complete.
Same.
And my bottom track was Phantasmic.
Same.
Really?
But just because of its length, still a 5.
Yeah.
I just wish they would have broken them up.
I'm just
They
surprised.
still all would have been 5s, but you know.
I'm just surprised you picked that one. Okay. What I said about this album is the vocal styling was much better on this album, and it does a better job of being cohesive with the accompaniment, which, I mean, let's not fool ourselves, plays a huge role in this band. I mean, they're symphonic metal. I would even go so far as to say that the accompaniment is the standout when it comes to this band.
Yep, it's the driving force. Their keyboardist writes almost all of their music.
The vocals, I disliked the vocals less than who I would compare them to, which is Within Temptation.
Mm-hmm.
I think Within Temptation's vocal stylings are better, but I do enjoy the cohesive accompaniment of the symphonic attributes.
And for those who are confused, their lead vocalist is very, very much a classically trained opera singer.
Mm-hmm.
She's also English is not her native language, and you can tell in a lot of places, but their lead songwriter pulls a giant amount of his inspiration from fantasy novels and also from Disney films, both a big thing for him, and it shows. And so if you're looking for something that is a little more like Evanescence and
more mainstream,
typically pretty, yeah, Within Temptation is probably going to be more your bag.
Yeah,
this music is a lot more complex. The interplay between the instruments is fucking wild on these two albums. Probably never heard anything like this before, and that vocalist is just, for me, who likes opera.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I wanted my whole life to hear something this melodically complex with an opera lead.
Yeah.
I also wonder sometimes too, because I've heard male opera vocalists and not enjoyed it as much. Like I would find it kind of weird if Luciano Pavarotti was singing on top of metal music.
That's a name.
I think so.
I don't know it, but I'm
pops
sure
into my
you
head.
do.
So, yeah. I think I would find that weird because I would try to sing it and not be able to, or it would feel strange. So I wonder if having like the more feminine voice that can register mimicry of this does hurt it somewhat.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I said about this album was it was the first Nightwish album I ever owned. There's a bonus track on the CD called Sleepwalker. It's also really great.
Moving on to our next album, which is Century Child from 2002. This was my runner-up.
Next to last.
I gave it 3 5s.
10 5s.
I'm going to annoy listeners by making that noise. My top track was a cover. Yes, The Phantom of the Opera. It's better than the original.
Hey.
So there you go. They did a way better job of performing it. And on this album especially, there is a male voice, vocals that accompany the female voice.
It's their bass player.
I like them, and I like them together.
Yep.
So
you'll notice he gets more prominent from here,
mm-hmm.
and that's, I think, a part of why. And he and Tuomas, the keyboardist, really do start writing more music together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was your top track?
There's a live version of that, too, which is really great. We're not there yet, but they do. The last album that we rated has a different vocalist.
Dang it. God dang it.
And they are. Well, the reason I mention it is because they do this live show at one point, which they recorded and released as discs. And Tarja just kills it. That's their lead vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
She kills it throughout. But she and the bass player both get up and do this Andrew Lloyd Webber song.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal. They even do High Hopes by Pink Floyd on this thing. Like, there's just so much that I loved about it. And then directly after, they let her go.
Really? They only kept her on for one album?
No, she was on for these 4 albums that we covered here.
Oh, yeah.
She was actually part of 6 different albums if you count Over the Hills and Far Away.
But they did have, got a different vocalist for the last album that we're covering, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And that one did 2 albums with them, and now they're on to their 3rd, and she's killer. She was actually a backup for Tarja way back in the day.
Ah.
I'm rambling, and I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
My top track was Dead to the World. My
bottom track was Bless the Child.
I wonder what goes through your head sometimes, but mine was Forever Yours, and it's still got a 5.
The thing that I want to say about this album is that the production value, it did increase for me on this album. That's at least the vibe that I got. It's an increasingly better balance when it comes to vocal and accompaniment. My biggest problem when it comes to like opera or symphonic metal, when you're taking these 2 genres of music and mashing them together, there has to be a balance for me. And it might be a mainstream balance. I might not be. I mean, don't listen to symphonic metal on a daily. It's not something that I would list in my top genres. I can appreciate it, but there just has to be a balance. And the balance didn't strike until it got to Century Child for me. Which
I take to mean that the complexity is too much and you want it to be a little more boring, because I find... No,
maybe.
I'm just giving you hell.
My feeble brain cannot comprehend.
I'm really addicted to complexity. It's a lot of listening to prog rock and stuff.
Honestly, I think I find it more stressful.
Okay.
When there's a struggle within music, if there's not something cohesive that grabs me and holds on to me throughout the song, along with all the struggles over it, I check out. I mean, it just feels stressful.
Yeah, she gets overloaded.
Yeah.
So to throw my garbage opinion in here for what it's worth, this is where obviously the bassist began using his amazing vocal talent. And though I still love the sound, the drum and guitar here begins feeling more like rhythm keeping than intricate layering. This is more in line with rock than it is with metal. And some 5s on this album barely registered for me, hence why it fell on the same... or why it fell a little lower than some of the other, even though they were all 5s. Mm-hmm. The last track surprised me. I think it was Beauty of the Beast. Mm-hmm. It's a long song, and I remember thinking that I didn't like it, but apparently I do, because I gave it a 5. Maybe I just wasn't being patient enough with it. I don't know.
Yeah, that song's a 3-part song, technically.
Yeah, and it's pretty common at the ends of their albums that they do these sorts of things.
Yeah.
Which, whatever.
Moving on to our next album, which was Once from 2004. This was my top album.
This was my bottom album.
I had a feeling this was going to go this way. I gave it 3 5s.
I gave it 9 5s, so it was too shy.
Yeah.
Of the perfect rating.
Not a perfect rating. My top track was Wish I Had an Angel.
The Siren.
And are you ready for me to butcher this?
Go ahead.
My bottom track is Kualima Teke... I don't know.
At least you tried, and I didn't have to.
Is that your bottom?
No, my bottom is actually Dead Gardens.
Okay.
The foreign language there does throw me off sometime. Finnish speaking is beautiful. I like the English stuff for some reason.
I will say...
Dead Gardens had a flat chorus. Sorry, go ahead.
I will say, even on that song, and I mean, I know it might make me seem ignorant because I don't usually rate foreign songs high. It's still got a 3 for me. No song in any of the albums that we've covered by Nightwish got a 1.
Yeah, I think it was one of the ones that I gave a 4.
So, I mean, it's not a bad song. It's just, it fell a little lower because it was in a foreign language, and unless I went to actually look up the lyrics, I wouldn't know what it meant. It sounded pretty.
Exactly.
So, again, the thing that I will say about this album is as they progress, they just seem to get more cohesive for me. And this might have fallen actually more into the rock genre. I think I got a lot of Within Temptation's Unforgiving for me. And you know, I loved that album. So I just think that this was just more my style.
Yeah, I get it.
So, which it probably fell closer to rock, which is one of the reasons why it probably fell to the bottom for you.
Well, the reason it fell to the bottom for me was just the purchase value. It had, it was lower than some of the others. It was actually the same as a few of them, but it had a handful of 4s. It's harder to forgive when you've got these good all the way through things.
Yeah.
But I've knocked your opinion and kind of made you seem basic over there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to build you back up a little bit. Because this was your top album, and while it was my bottom, I thought it was a stronger technical showing. Mm-hmm. That is to say that they went a little more into the realm of complexity here than they did on their previous album. Mm-hmm. Which again, I love these albums, but it suffers from one weak chorus and a Finnish language track. Otherwise, it's about as mainstream as they get. Mm-hmm. So I would agree with Rayburn. If you're looking for a place to pick up, this might be what you go for.
Yes.
For me personally, I would recommend Oceanborn or Wishmaster.
But your opinion is also coming from someone that has listened to them for a very long time, who has an appreciation for them. Me, like you said, this is my first time really listening to Nightwish. I knew you liked Nightwish. I had heard a song here and there because of you. But that's probably the reason why I did like Once, and it's a great place to start. They do have lots to offer, I will say that, and I'll say more when we get farther down the line that Shane might appreciate more.
Okay.
But moving on to our last album, which was Dark Passion Play from 2007, this fell in the middle for me.
This was my top album.
I gave it 3 5s.
11 5s.
Not a perfect rating, though.
Nope.
Wow.
This is top primarily because all of their albums are solid. Mm-hmm. This one has more tracks.
Yes, it does. My top track was Ava.
Meadows of Heaven.
And my bottom track was The Islander.
Man. Okay. Well, we are...
I know it's a popular song by them.
It was written by the bass player. It has a gorgeous music video. Mm-hmm. I can understand. It's not their normal thing. It's more of an acoustic, slow burn type of song. That having been said, I'm going to sound contradictory here and also knock you a little bit more and say that my bottom track was Eva. Okay. I thought it was kind of dull.
Okay. Welcome to Basic Bitch Land, where we're all dull.
It's not bad. I mean, in the entirety of this discography, I've got only 4 4s. Everything else was 5s.
Okay.
So this was another album with only minor flaws. The instrumental should have had vocals. Most will likely prefer Annette's vocals to Tarja. I enjoy both. Annette's the one that I saw when we saw them live. Mm-hmm. She's stellar. She's also the person that is in their film, Imaginarium, which is $5 on Amazon Prime Video right now if you want to grab it. It's pretty cool. It's got like a Christmas vibe, but it's sad, and it's a more musical film, artsy.
Yeah.
Not normally something I enjoy, but hey, this is one of my favorite bands. What are you going to do?
I could not tell that this was one of your favorite bands, Shane.
Yeah.
Moving on to the questionnaire portion.
Can I say this has gone exactly like I expected so far? That's not to say you're predictable. It's to say that I think the way I hear this music is not the way most people hear this music. Mm-hmm.
And that is probably true. I mean, you kind of knew what to expect a little bit because we've covered music like this, not entirely. I couldn't sit here and compare Within Temptation to Nightwish exactly because they're not. They're very different, but at times they're similar.
Yep. So it took a long time to understand. I talk about this group making pretty music, mm-hmm. but it's super complex. So, and I think it appeals more to metal fans.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have thought that until we saw them live, and 99.9% of the people in the crowd are just head to toe black clothes, black hair. It's, piercings, and they're very white. Is very goth crowd.
Yes.
But metal lovers.
Can I ask you a personal question? Who or what was your introduction to music like this? Because you've never really talked about it. We've never had this discussion, and I've always been curious because I know where a lot of your inspirations come from and your personal tastes come from. But stuff like this, I have no idea. So I'm curious to know.
Well, we're going to kind of put a pin in it because I'm going to talk about it a little later. But suffice it to say for now what I've said before, which is when the internet was new and Amazon was just kicking off, they gave you the ability to listen to 30-second sound clips.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these artists were on my radar just because I'd never heard anything like it. And it doesn't take much to just skim 30 seconds of a song.
Yeah.
So when I actually started buying this music and ordering the specials from Hastings, because they had to be imported at that point, they weren't just in the stores. We'll talk about some of the first stuff I got my hands on.
Okay.
And knew that, oh yeah, this is my shit.
Okay. All right. Well, moving on to our weirdest track by Nightwish. Mine was that Finnish song in their native language, which is the Kolima Teke. I'm not going to say the last one because that one's just too complicated. Yeah, it was just because it was in their native language.
Gotcha. Mine was actually Devil in the Deep Dark Ocean, just something I didn't like when I first heard it because it is surprisingly metal, and metal was not my bag back in the day. I liked prog, but I thought metal was just way too dark, and the growling type of vocals that you get from that male who's singing in the song, like I used to hate that, but I love the shit out of that now. It's just, as far as the track goes for their discography, it's surprisingly metal.
All right.
Best title?
All of them.
Really?
Except the worst title that's coming up next. What was
the one you keep trying to pronounce?
No. All their titles were really, really good. I couldn't pick, except for one. I picked the cornier of all of them, but they're really creative, and I appreciate that when it comes to naming your tracks. So
I'm curious. We'll see. My best title was Ghost Love Score.
Okay.
And goddamn, what a hook. And there's also a live version of that being sung by their new vocalist. And I don't remember which version it is. I'll put it on mentions. She just fucking kills some of these notes that you wouldn't think she could hit. Mm-hmm. Holy hell.
Now, was the new vocalist the backup to the second vocalist?
To the first.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. Just checking in.
I think you would really like their new vocalist more than any of them.
Okay.
The problem is the band has moved in a direction that is less appealing to me. The keyboardist has always been really obsessed with soundtrack scores and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. It's why on almost all the albums you get the instrumental versions as well. Mm-hmm. But I don't like the strings and everything that are going on in the background. I know he's picking up on a million things there. It reminds me of what Radiohead started to do.
Yes.
With take like a motion picture soundtrack. Isn't that what that song is called?
Yes. I liked that one.
I know, it's just, it makes me want to watch a movie. Like, I don't know why I'm listening to music that sounds like it should just be backing something up in a film. Okay. I want the guitar and the keys and the bass and the drums to all just be forward and in my face. And so since they're doing more of that, they haven't made much use of their new vocalist. Mm-hmm. I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I actually had a question. They have enough albums other than the ones that we covered for them to go back in the jar, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. I was curious because, I mean, I can listen to their music on my own, but I'm curious to see if we're going to cover any of their newer stuff later on down the line, possibly.
We also didn't cover an EP there in the middle of this stuff, and their very first album we did not cover.
No, we didn't. Moving on to the worst title for me, it's Bless the Child.
You had problem with that one, huh?
I did, which apparently surprised you. I would have called it Christen the Innocent. It sounds better.
Okay.
Same basic thing, it just sounds better.
You kind of sound like me right now. It needs to be more complex, even though complexity is what you didn't like about a lot of this.
Well, when it comes to their song titles, they were pretty creative and complex.
Yeah.
By just saying, bless the child, it just seemed like, oh, we didn't know what else to say. I know they say it in the song, but I just think that it could have been a little bit more creative and complex.
I got you.
What's yours?
Mine was Beauty of the Beast, and I would have called it not Beauty and the Beast.
I thought the same thing.
I fucked that up so much.
I thought the exact same thing.
Strongest element?
The strongest element for me was their guitar and accompanying instruments.
Their highly unique sound, and it is highly unique. Again, you probably haven't heard anything like this, and if you have, it's just because a lot of artists are starting to copy what they do.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is their weakest element? Come on, we want to hear weakest element.
I kind of talked about it already. Less focus on instrumental complexity as things progress. I will say that the drums were better than I was giving them credit for. I've knocked the drums in past episode as an example, but they're pretty on point throughout. They're not, if you're in the metal genre and you're used to listening to artists like Lamb of God or Dream Theater, they're not usually hitting those levels of complexity, but they do, they strike a good balance and keep a beat really well.
Well, my answer is going to contradict a little bit of what you said. I think their weakest element, especially in those early albums, is not being cohesive and throwing things at the wall to see if they stick.
Okay.
This is my first experience with music like this. Check back with me in 5 years to see if my opinion has changed. I will always encourage that because it's always subject to change. Just listening to it for the first time and not being familiar with music like this, I could learn to appreciate it farther down the line.
Maybe,
who knows? Maybe not. Maybe I'll come back in 5 years and think that it's less appealing. Who knows? Who or what do you think that they sound like?
I said Dream Theater writing fantasy music for an opera.
Okay. And I said
Dream Theater maybe giving them a little too much credit at times, but sometimes they really are, especially in those early albums, you can hear how talented the guitarist and the keyboardist are.
Mm-hmm. That's something that we agree on. I really paid less attention to the vocals, more attention to the music actually being played. And that's not something that I really did within Temptation. So it definitely made me pay attention to different elements of bands like this. So anyway, Now I'm rambling. I think they sound like, because I always pick artists, Within Temptation, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, or Repo the Genetic Opera.
It's not bad.
Yeah. So when would you listen to them and how does the music make you feel?
I think they're worth listening to when you need a musical reset. You've been listening to the same things for too long. This is really going to shake things up, and it makes me feel like magic is real.
Aww.
It's magical music.
Well, now I feel like a dick.
Why?
Because I enjoy the music, but not as much as you do. And I don't want to dull your sparkle.
I can think of maybe 2 people who've ever appreciated this artist the way that I do. I don't expect anyone else to pick up on my foreign obsessions.
Okay.
Nobody ever has.
All right.
It's fine.
When I would listen to them is when I'm watching anime. I think that this would be a great artist to accompany a really intense and like thinking like Attack on Titan anime and how it makes me feel like I'm ready for battle again.
You're always speaking a foreign language with me with anime, so there's me dulling your sparkle if it helps.
I know. It's okay.
It's just never caught me. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back in 5 years and I'll be a bigger fan, or maybe I'll completely hate it.
Maybe. I'm sure. I am almost positive there's something out there for you. And I think that we constantly hold out hope for each other when it comes to things that the other likes and they want the other to vibe on it a little bit. I know there's something out there for you. I just don't think that you've taken the time to find it, but maybe I'll find it for you. So,
okay. What
was your first or best experience with this artist?
Already said first, so I'm going to say best. It was seeing them live. And again, go check out the Ghost Love score video I'm going to put up in the mentions playlist on YouTube.
I'm going to list both first and best this week.
Cool.
So there you go. I found a lot that I did really enjoy, and I know she
keeps half making eye contact with me and then like looking
because
away at the wall.
I keep looking at you because you smile at me and I feel like you think I'm bullshitting you. I did find a lot that I liked.
Yeah, I believe you.
And I played all the way through. Like it wasn't like I normally do, like, oh, I'm going to listen to a minute of this song, and then I'm checking out.
This is why I said you don't have to couch it. It's fine.
Okay.
I knew this was a wild card.
Okay, just okay. All right. Who would you want them to collaborate with, and what song would you like them to cover?
Queensryche, because of the instrumental complexity and also that vocal power that Queensryche brings to the table. I didn't list a cover song because I just want more originals. I love their covers, don't get me wrong, but hit me with the original stuff. That's what drew me in the first place.
Okay.
Okay.
I was an overachiever, and I picked an artist and a song. I would like them to collaborate with Dio, and I would like them to cover Run to the Hills by Iron Maiden.
See? A little more metal
Yeah.
than you think. I always wanted to think of this as symphonic rock, which is what it's labeled as, but this, especially in the beginning, does fall more into the metal subset.
Well, I like Dio and I like Iron Maiden, and I just think that, again, maybe a male vocalist being brought in would boost it a little bit more. So, I mean,
they already have an amazing male vocalist.
I know. I did say that. I'm just saying.
Dio and Iron Maiden,
All right. Well, what makes this artist seem unique? Since no one likes what I have to say.
The fantasy lyrics, piano at the forefront, and an operatic vocalist. Two of them, if I'm being... He doesn't normally sing in opera style. But you? What's your opinion, Rayborn? I want to say your name like Austin said it all the time. Rayborn.
You know, we're going to hear massive amounts of shit later on for that.
No, he did it on purpose, so.
I told him he could just call me Ray. Anyway, their operatic metal sound. It's not something that you hear often, if ever, unless you're looking for it. And it's definitely something that stands out. I will probably never forget the way Nightwish sounds because it is so different.
Good.
So
I appreciate hearing that. I only half heard it because I was over here thinking that maybe he didn't do it because Code's dog is named Ray.
Maybe.
So
I'm so glad you listen to me when I talk to you.
I'm processing. You know, my mind is constantly playing catch up, not the red stuff that you put on fries.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Or
What'd you say?
everything if you're part of my family.
What'd you say?
Huh? Next question.
How could this artist be most successful in the future?
Get back to that highly melodic guitar, piano that they once had.
I said hone in the focus on the cohesive sounds.
Make it cohesive. Get a little boring. Play it all together. The same little shit everywhere.
Become a basic bitch. Who would you recommend this artist to and why?
Okay, I'm going to answer that. But first, we're going to talk about the basic bitch thing. Again, I am not saying that you like cake with no icing. I think you like cake with a little bit of icing. And I like cake that's fucking, up to like half icing. You could even have it be like a moist coconut, like Tres Leches cake, and I am golden.
You know what is so funny is that's absolutely true.
Hello.
Absolutely. I do not like a lot of icing. Oh, I'm not helping my case at all. Well, you know what? There are a lot of people out there like me, so I'm just a part of the masses, man.
Don't be giving me those looks over there like I'm about to become Freud and be your psychotherapist or something.
Oh, I think that we hit the nail on the head a long time ago with that.
Had this excited look like he's going to solve all of my life problems somehow.
I couldn't believe how people that know how I like my cake.
Which I don't.
Yeah,
I do now.
You didn't know, but those people that do, I'm so transparent right now. So there you go.
You still have clothes on, Rayburn. What was the question you asked me? Who would I recommend this artist to?
Who would you recommend this artist to
and why?
Yes.
Mostly to people who need to know that their dreams aren't crazy. You have a place in the world with your crazy ass dreams.
Sometimes you make me sick.
It's because I like a lot of icing on my cake. What was your answer?
I said yes to anyone that appreciates good background music when it comes to watching anime, playing video games. It's a good soundtrack for someone's life when it comes to the constant internal struggle that a lot of people face. There's melancholy times, there's stressful times, there's angry times in music like this, and it just for me, maybe not for you. And we've established that's okay.
I don't listen to this artist all the time. My love of them is actually not what it used to be. I was super obsessed for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I fell more into metal. So the level of complexity that I'm looking for in this type of darker melodic stuff is a little higher.
Mm-hmm.
I still like going back to it for vocals, and they're beautiful songwriting.
Okay. Is there anything else? Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you want to suck Nightwish's dick anymore? Or, you got any more to say? Or
Can I let's go with gender neutral. Can I eat Nightwish's ass a little more?
Absolutely.
Would that be good?
Absolutely. I'm always down for ass eating.
You know I'm big on that. And not from personal experience. I'm not responsible for the tickle in your throat.
No, you're not.
I'd say Tarja went on to produce some decent music. They released a single as a B-side on a single. It's called Sagan. It's about Carl Sagan. But the only thing you can find online is the instrumental. Quit pissing me off with that. Add Sagan already. They're probably best known for Nemo and Wishmaster, those songs. And if you want a good laugh, if you absolutely hate this band and want to feel like you're seeing them trolled, go listen to Wishmaster by... Oh my God.
You remember when you said you get a chuckle out of people that act like they know something and then they...
The problem is, I know it, but my brain won't make the connections sometimes.
But you said I didn't know the lead guitarist for the Go-Go's. I know her. I just couldn't make the connection. And I'm still not making the connection. We've established that.
I take that as you've heard the name once or twice, and so it sticks.
You still can't remember the name.
Nope. I'm going to look it up. There's a band out there like the Pentatonics that does, and I literally just typed in Pentatonics here instead of what I'm looking for. Van Canto.
Van Canto.
Go look up. There's even a video you can watch. I'm not going to post it because it gives me a chuckle, but I still despise it because I don't take it seriously. But Wishmaster by Van Canto is a all-voice version of one of the greatest songs of all time, which is Wishmaster by Nightwish.
Jane Wieldlin.
Yeah, Weidlin,
whatever.
I don't actually know that's her name. Fun to correct you.
Yeah, It's a highlight of your day.
I will say one last thing here, which is the album art for those early albums is stupendous, and I wish they would get back to that really fantastic album artwork. Nightwish.
Yeah, we're talking about Nightwish.
Not the Go-Go's, not Van Canto,
no. Nightwish.
And that's the end of my hard-on for one of the greatest bands ever.
You ready to move on to our break?
Take a break.
I love that we sit here in silence and both stare at the ceiling like goobs.
I was staring at your t-shirts on the wall, and
Yeah.
for some reason I was thinking about how Kiss is an oddly named band, because I realize I'm a heterosexual male and those are dudes. But you see these weirdly painted, ugly, someone's got like the longest tongue in the history of the world.
Yeah, that's Gene Simmons.
And I wouldn't want to kiss any of those dudes.
Excuse me, sir. KISS stands for Knights in Satan's Service.
Okay.
You didn't know that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
At least I knew that's what it was. That's
Rumored.
what was said during the Satanic Panic.
Yes.
Can we talk about for a second how stupidly hilarious that is?
The Bible thumpers that think that kids of that time shouldn't listen to music.
It's still going on.
Well, yeah. It's never going to stop.
Turn them to the devil. And what have they done in the Christian music world to combat it? They've started making the devil's music with
God's lyrics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I can't talk shit because I like that music too.
Christian rock. Yeah. Christian metal. And yeah, it's just they're trying to bring the crowd in and appease the masses while still tiptoeing the line of safe. So, yeah.
Take it a little too far sometimes, you guys.
Yeah.
Slow your roll. The devil ain't trying to get your kids through music. And I don't think music is telling kids to kill themselves. So,
well, same could be said for video games or any sort of...
Or movies or
any
TV shows or books or...
Your parents.
Yeah, your parents. If your parents are telling you to kill yourself, you probably got a problem.
Yeah. Anyway, you got any song recommendations or plugs for this week?
I do, if I wasn't a dumbass who had the wrong sheet in front of me.
Well, you are a dumbass, so get the right sheet.
Yeah, you were going to start talking and then you realized I already had the paper in my hand.
Yeah.
Recommendation for this week is Long Lost Feeling by Blink-182. It's from disc 2 of the California Albums Deluxe Edition. This album was so epic that they managed to drop 12 more mostly great songs on top of the original release. This song's here because I relate heavily to it. I find myself missing the messy idiocy of youth. I miss the parts of my family that moved to Idaho. I miss weekly get-togethers with friends. No kids or spouses to concern ourselves with. Don't get me wrong, I love so much about what my life has become, but there's just a lot about adulting that's needlessly lonely. I'm recommending this song in hopes of looking back in a year and no longer being able to relate to it so much, in hopes of getting back to the me I used to love. Spill your garbage, Raven. What do you got?
It is garbage.
Bile on the mic. Let's have it.
Sleeping Bag by ZZ Top. It's a good song. I hate it when you come in with this thoughtful, self-expressive
We just passed New Year's, so
message. That's true, but it's going to be almost it's going to be almost February when people hear this.
I know. I'm just saying the reason that I wrote the way that I did is because it was around New Year's and been considering certain things, changes.
Am I not good enough for you, man?
What does this have to do with you?
You still see me.
Go hide in your sleeping bag with ZZ Top.
Yeah, step inside my sleeping bag.
And do what? Tickle your throat?
That wasn't an invitation. Okay, moving on. I also have a plug because I really, really, really want it to be on the mentions on YouTube. It's I Can't Make You Love Me by Bonnie Vare, originally done by Bonnie Raitt. That's not confusing at all. I just really love this version, and it can only be found on YouTube, so put it on the mentions, Shane.
Okay.
Plugs from you?
Yes, and I almost changed my plug this week because there's some business going down that needs to be talked about, but I didn't do that. So I'm going to go with the original.
Okay.
I don't remember what it was. Something got me like super excited and then I realized it was out or coming out or being released. I don't fucking remember what it was.
Okay, move on.
There's a show called Fungus the Bogeyman that's available on Prime Video. It's only 4 episodes, but makes for a great watch. I know you hear the name and think it's crazy, but if you like the Harry Potter or Tim Burton films, there's something here for you. This is something I found after finishing with Jim Henson's The Storyteller, which is also a great show.
Okay. You and your Amazon Prime Video stuff. I still haven't watched Love on the Spectrum.
No?
I've been meaning to. I'm terrible.
It will make you feel better.
I know. If it makes me feel an ounce of what Derek made me feel, I'll be all right.
It's gonna do it.
I did watch Soul yesterday.
See Peanut Butter Falcon?
No.
Be the same sorts of feels.
Soul's unrelated, but it's very popular right now, so.
I saw someone talking about Soul, about a memory sequence making them cry.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Is it on Disney Plus?
It's on Disney Plus.
That's why I haven't seen it, because that's a garbage app. Do you know?
Oh, God.
I took the time. We make these different user accounts, and I tried to make a list of classics, like really good among their entire library. I went through all this crap and added the stuff that I knew was great from childhood that I thought my son would enjoy watching. 2 things happen on Disney Plus that drive me nuts. One, it will only load to like half of my list. It's alphabetical because I was going alphabetical and I can only get to like the L's or the M's.
Okay.
It won't show the rest of the list. The other thing is if you play a movie on your watch list, when you're done with it, it gets removed from your watch list.
Oh, so it just doesn't sit there in like a queue. Oh.
Third thing.
Okay.
Is the servers or the hosting of it is garbage. There are so many times where the audio and the video don't sync up properly, or it just stops playing altogether.
Yeah, I can attest to that issue. That's the biggest issue that we've had with Disney Plus is it'll buffer and then it'll just stop. And that's so frustrating. And I know it's probably because there's still a lot of bugs or a lot of people are using it or whatever.
It's Disney. They don't have those sorts of problems. They're just opening and closing the door to the vault to make sure that the right things are in or out of their vault.
Yeah. So when it goes back in the vault, that's when it starts buffering.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't own a single Disney film on Prime Video because they charge like 3 to 4 times as much as everyone else is charging for films. And there's almost never anything in the way of a sell. I
probably shouldn't have Disney Plus only because, I'm a almost 30-year-old woman with no children.
My wife's parents pay for it.
But your son comes over a lot, though.
Yeah, and they've got Star Wars and everything
Yeah.
else there. And
Yeah. Can't forget Dad's love of Star Wars.
yeah, I actually feel bad because we've been so busy that there hasn't been a lot of watching of the things we would normally watch. But my father-in-law has been very excited about season 2 of The Mandalorian, and none of us have watched it to be able to talk about it. So he just asks every time we see him, "You seen season 2 yet?" Nope, not yet. Sorry.
Blue Sister, her boys, of course, love Star Wars. And when they come over here, like, to spend the night or whatever, that's usually what they'll do is they'll, like, binge watch The Mandalorian on our Disney Plus account, because Samantha doesn't believe in purchasing a Disney Plus account when she owns all the Disney movies that she really wants to watch anyway. So maybe y'all are kindred spirits in that sense. I mean, she's got 3 boys. She doesn't really need any of the princess movies or anything like that. All the boy Disney Pixar movies she wants, she owns. So they come over here and they watch The Mandalorian because they really, really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good fit for that platform. Jon Favreau did a great job with it.
Mm-hmm.
I say that as someone who hated's probably strong, but I definitely did not like the new Lion King live action.
I haven't even seen it.
Yeah.
I like what he did with Iron Man.
Yeah.
That's all I can attest to his work. Is I really enjoyed Iron Man and his whole Marvel Cinematic Universe contributions.
He's got the chef show up and running. I think it's on Netflix with Roy, which is the guy who inspired the Chef film that he stars in, and I think wrote and directed. Yeah, it's excellent. It's driven my love of Jon Favreau, but I think it's good for the Disney Plus platform, The Mandalorian is, because it is Star Wars and the adults like the Star Wars. And then you've got some of the kids that are on Disney Plus or just childish at heart that can fall in love with Baby Yoda and
Baby Yoda.
geek to no end. And can I say, there was little that was more disheartening in the world. My son was born, my first child, and all I was seeing online were these fucking memes about how Baby Yoda is cuter than any baby that's ever been born.
Baby Yoda eclipsed the birth of your son a little bit.
I feel like I was being attacked. And like, I get it. You don't want to be around people who just look at all these pictures of my baby. Because babies tend to look like aliens or something when they come out, you know?
Well, if it makes you feel better, there is a scene in The Mandalorian where a stormtrooper punches Baby Yoda.
I will have to keep watching for sure.
It was sad. Blue laughed his ass off, but I thought it was sad. Anyway, yeah, punched him right in the face for biting him. Anyway, we're off topic.
I used to really like Star Trek to the point that I would not do Star Wars.
You do not have to choose.
I'd seen it, and exactly. I'm
a firm believer in you can appreciate both. The whole Trekkies versus the I don't even know what you would call Star Wars fans.
I was just kind of baffled by it as a young person. Like, Star Trek talked about how, once we have these other technologies and things are progressing to this point, we will have had to have not destroyed ourselves with said technology, which means we need to be more peaceful. And, and then they create all of this drama by finding other worlds and beings that don't, follow those same rules. And I remember hating Star Wars because I thought it's the same shit that's going on right now, but they've got all this future technology. But realistically, it'll probably be somewhere in the middle. We're always going to be on the edge of the knife, hoping we don't blink out of existence.
Since you're talking about Star Trek, do you have a favorite captain?
No.
Okay.
I know I'm supposed to say Picard for my own.
I would have thought you would have said Picard.
I've really enjoyed. I liked Jane a lot. I can't think of the captain's last name. It's so sad.
Was she the one? Was she red?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. From Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed pretty much any Star Trek that I've seen, and now I can safely say that the same is pretty much true with Star Wars, except for Attack of the Clones. I think was the second film.
Alyssa would feel very attacked. She's one of the weirdos that loved Jar Jar Binks' contributions to the...
Well, I think if you see it at a certain point in your mental development, it probably feels better.
Mm-hmm.
Like you may have more bias, I guess, or strong emotions, and you haven't seen everything out, flesh love stories out a little better. Hayden Christensen got better in that third film. I don't know what was happening in the second one. We are rambling like a motherfucker.
We are.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we are. But I will say Hayden Christensen, he's he's going to be back as Vader.
Good, because I thought he had
So there
just
you go.
fallen off the map or something.
No,
out of shame.
A lot of people, yeah. I think he got blacklisted for a while.
Where are the people who are supposed to see us on one and be like, shut the fuck up?
I need a button or something. Anyway, let's move on to our next artist and get back to work.
Yeet. Or if I'm be like Thomas, our old friend Thomas Big T, I get snaps from him all the time. And I don't know where this comes from, but every time he ends one, he goes, yeet, yeet. Okay. Come on. It's like this redneck dude talking to, yeah, we was doing this and that. And then yeet, yeet.
Okay.
Moving on.
All right. Moving on to our next artist, which was who, Shane?
Thomas O. MacDonald?
Yeah.
Did he have a farm?
Yeah. I think he had pigs and chickens and shit on it, I guess. Thomas O. MacDonald.
There he is.
Yeah, and we only covered 3 albums by Tom MacDonald. This was suggested by one of our listeners, Alex, and she got the luck of the draw. So we're going to be covering Tom MacDonald for the second half of this.
And he does have more than 3 albums. We just couldn't get our hands on them beyond Spotify. So without paying money, we are just going to cover these 3 albums, which I hadn't heard any of these albums.
Me neither.
Everything I know about Tom MacDonald has nothing to do with any of these albums. And what he's doing now is quite a bit different than...
Yep.
Anyway.
Our first album was...
LeeAnn's Son from 2014. This was my middle pick.
This was also my middle pick.
I gave it 0 5s.
I gave it 2 5s.
My top track was Wannabe.
Fucking fight!
Can you calm down? She's fucking punching the air. Fucking fight. All right. Just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with here. My bottom track was Skit, and there were a handful. This one's actually called Skit in parentheses, and I think it's the epitome of a pointless track.
I said the intro. There were several ones that landed on this album.
Yep.
And I will say that it was reminiscent of early Kanye, and not the early Kanye that I enjoyed. T-Pain-esque sounds with aggressive early 2000s cheese.
There's a lot in the second half of what you said there that rings true. Kanye. What the fuck? I said this album had great spacey instrumentals, but the vocals are vapid, repetitive, and unintentionally humorous. This is not Pressure.
No.
Right?
No.
Think Ritz meets Lil Windex, but like a knockoff sound of those two. It has Lil Pump moments lyrically, but the music was great.
Yeah, there were things that I enjoyed. Obviously, I gave it 2 5s, but there's just, it was so, it was almost as if he was late to this type of music. Like, a lot of it was popular in that early 2000s sound, especially with the rap game, like with T-Pain and stuff. But it's 2014 when this came out.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little dated.
Just a bit.
Moving on to our next album.
Which was See You Tomorrow from 2015. This was my top album.
This was also my top album.
I gave it 5 5s.
I gave it 3 5s.
My top track was Who I Am.
How the West Was Won.
Bottom track was Green Day.
Love Me to Death.
Which I think I gave that one a 5.
What I will say about this is it was more Post Maloney, Lil Wayne vibes, and much more chill. See,
now we're clicking a little bit, I think. I wrote Yellow Wolf and Tech 9 imitation like you wouldn't believe. That's at the forefront, but it is similar to Post Malone in places, and the vocal effects that you're hearing are reminiscent of Lil Wayne albums. Has a rough start, but this one is a marked improvement over the first. Darker material seems to suit him for me. Not as good as the other rappers mentioned at this point in his career, but I do think it was a step up. And if you're going to listen to something here, listen to See You Tomorrow. To me, even though this was my top album, you remember how a person from another podcast had an issue with a certain band that shall not be named. Electric Light Orchestra? Yes. I said it shall not be named, Shane. At least Tom MacDonald to me is a poor imitation of those other better artists. Yeah, I don't disagree. Okay, I was going to say that might sound harsh, but it's true and it's my opinion and it's my show. If you don't like it,
Get out.
Yeah, all I was trying to say is this album felt like less of a poor imitation. It still feels like imitation at this point, but it was pretty well done.
I think he imitated better.
Yeah.
In this album.
And to be fair, we should throw in that this did come out before Post Malone was officially on the scene.
Yes. But moving on to our next album.
Sure. It was Dream People and the Whiskey Wars from 2015 as well, according to the internet. This was a double disc. This was my bottom album.
This is my bottom album as well.
I gave it 2 5s.
I also gave it 2 5s.
My top track was TFAB, even though I still have no idea what the fuck is being said.
My top track was Help Is On The Way.
Seriously, though, was it like twerking for a Birkin or something?
I think it was twerking for a Birkin. I think he does say it.
I don't know what a Birkin is. I'm old,
It's an item
remember?
of clothing.
Okay.
I think, no, it's a Birkin bag.
Oh.
It's a bag.
So it's a girl shaking her ass to get
that Birkin bag.
All right.
What's your bottom?
I'm a garbage human.
Yeah.
My bottom track was Pretend.
My bottom track was Lit. It was not lit.
That's a good pick for a bottom track.
Yep.
We can now add Future and Kendrick Lamar to the list of comparisons here. Repetition, bland choruses, meandering lyrics continue working against this artist's moments of greatness, and he does have moments of greatness, but I had trouble relating to most of this. Instrumentals were hit or miss, which I feel like those first 2 albums, the instrumentals were pretty strong throughout, and most of this was filler. It was a double disc, and you could have cut it down to, I think, like 10 songs, and you still would have just had a decent album, not a great album.
You ready for mine?
Go ahead.
Douchey with the occasional gem.
Lord, tell us how you really feel.
Coming out guns blazing, pow pow, bang bang. Moving on to the questionnaire portion for Tom MacDonald.
What was his weirdest track?
I thought it was Pretend. It was country rap, and it was not well done.
It was one of my bottom picks, so let's pretend that that's what I said, because what I wrote was I found most of his music strange. I couldn't pick.
Okay. What was his best title?
Free Drugs. It's attention grabbing. I wanted to hear it.
I said Rain Clouds in Paris.
That's a good one.
Worst title?
Nah, nah, nah. I would have called it Don't Take Me Seriously.
Okay. My worst title was Lit, and that's a lit.
What's odd is I think I know now. There's something in Rit's discography where he talks about nerd rappers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't remember, a geek rap or something along those lines. And I always wondered, like, who are you making fun of here? And I feel like this is squarely aimed at artists like Tom MacDonald now.
See, when you say nerd rappers, all I can think about is like Lil Dicky.
Dork rap, that's what it's called.
Now, if you would categorize him as dork rap, this is not good.
He calls people on it. Like, we're talking about things being lit. It's litty lit, fam, you know?
Yeah. You want to know what I would have called it?
What?
Stop Me, I'm 32.
Oh, God, I'm old.
What's your strongest element?
The instrumentals, hands down. You?
Sometimes when experimenting with beats, they can be lyrically creative.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Weakest element?
Sticks too close to the douchey trap formula.
I said the chameleon nature of his style, by which I mean sometimes you listen to this music and you think there are guest spots on the songs. Mm-hmm. It's still him. It's his nature, or his voice has this chameleon thing going on where he can sound like all these other people.
Yeah.
And he does. And I know later in some of his work, he does begin to develop his own style and take himself more seriously. And I think some people are somewhat right to appreciate that. But that's not what we listen to today.
No,
Sorry.
No, that's not. Who or what would you say he sounds like?
A shallow imitation of most of my favorite rappers.
I said Kanye, Lil Wayne, Macklemore, T-Pain, Post Malone. And again, a poor imitation of those artists. When would you listen, or how does the music make you feel?
I think you should listen to this artist maybe after someone's compiled the best of his material. It makes me feel like I should be listening to Yellow Wolf instead.
I said riding your skateboard is when I would listen to it. How it makes me feel when music is good, hopeful, and when it's not, too faded and not in a good way.
Too stoned.
What was your first or best experience with this artist?
My first was hearing White Boy. I was worried that today's covering would be a lot of
that
White Boy type material, which I didn't want to get too political on the show.
I agree.
And covering that sort of stuff takes a lot of nuance, and people are still going to get hot-headed and disagree. Oddly, this that we covered today avoided depth like the plague, though.
Yep, that is very, very true. My first experience with it is I did listen to White Boy, and like his top 5. The stuff that is popular on Spotify is not what we covered today. This was a little bit more toned down as far as triggering people, which I was worried a lot as well. But other than that, my first experience would be this week.
Yeah.
So, who would you like him to collaborate with, and what song would you like them to cover?
I know Needy.
I said T-Pain because he sounds like him anyway.
Okay. I'll accept that.
What makes
You could just listen to T-Pain, you know?
I could, but if I had to pick something, what makes this artist seem unique?
His seemingly lazy approach. These beats just deserved more. Specifically, I felt like some of the verses were pretty well done. And it's not that he doesn't have talent, because he does. Some of the choruses just felt like, I don't really care what goes here. You know, it just felt disrespectful to what he was on top of.
Yeah.
And I feel like that in the beginning, he even talks about it somewhere at the start of that second album, I think, about how we're going to make the rest of you sound stupid because y'all are trying so hard and still not succeeding. But I'm not even going to try, and watch what I do. Now, that didn't really work out for him. He wound up going to the opposite extreme. But yeah, I think if you could get your hands on instrumentals of some of these songs, it wouldn't be too much harder to write a better hook.
I thought what made him seem unique was I enjoyed his slower melodies, and at times he is lyrically creative. But again, it's a thick layer of cheese.
Yeah.
And usually I like cheese, a lot of it, but not my taste, man.
Yeah, Yellow Wolf has this, which he's stupidly talented anyway, but some of the themes of his are like Southern outlaw type stuff coming into the rap genre. Mm-hmm. And then you also see a lot of Lil Wayne influences here, where they'll say something and then say like, and it's a lot of wordplay. And you see the Tech 9 influences where it's chopped, you know. I don't know what I'm trying to get at. There's just, it was hard for me to nail down. It's not that he's bad. It's just that there's not much original.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree. How could this artist be most successful in the future?
Keep doing think pieces and focus on quality over quantity. Clearly, the think pieces came later, and they have been very fiery. What I appreciate about them, while I may not agree with all things in all places, I do like that it's starting a conversation. Hello, doggy.
Sorry.
For what? You got puppy dogs, and sometimes they're going to show up in the...
I do, yep.
What's your answer?
I said, make more authentic music, not stuff that's just popular. And I would say popular at the time, but he's late to the game on a lot of this stuff. Who would you recommend this artist to, and why?
I initially wanted to say no one, but I think that See You Tomorrow album might go over well with rap fans. Again, it does have a rough start. You know, the 3 of the first 4 tracks were not great. But beyond that, it's a pretty good album.
I would recommend this artist, but I did say he has something to offer, but hasn't honed in on his personal style yet. I think once he does that, I will better be able to gauge on who I could recommend him to. But I mean, he sounds like so many different artists that have already done it. Until I get a taste of what he is like as an individual, I won't be able to gauge my opinion properly.
Yeah, and normally I don't mind imitation.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty natural.
They say it's the highest form of flattery.
Yeah, and even Eminem does it because I think in his case, he's trying to show that he can do it better.
Yeah.
Like, or he's just using it.
He's just being arrogant.
He's being a dick or a troll, or he's joking.
Yeah.
You know, I think mostly he's joking, and it's just taken way too seriously. But something about this mimicry just bothered me. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't tell you why. I think maybe because the guy still sounds very, very full of himself. Mm-hmm. And not really appreciative of anybody else. And that's kind of a rap theme.
Yeah.
A theme with rappers. But I don't know. I wasn't feeling this.
Do you have any optional discussion topics about him?
Nope.
He is also in a band with his girlfriend, or at least was. It's called...
Bang, 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 bang.
GFBF. He's dating a Rockefeller.
Is that girlfriend, boyfriend?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it is. I listened to some of their stuff.
Or is it like Go Fuck Boy Mouths? Come up with another one.
Go fuck.
Golf for me, baby.
You're forgetting the BF.
Oh, there was an F there. I'm sorry.
I was like, why are you doing an M?
GFMB. I'm already confusing things.
Gotta fuck bad friend. So he does have other outlets that he also makes music. I did listen to a little bit of it. Wasn't super impressed. It's just him adding on the female vocals that aren't tremendous. Think of like a trap version of the ant word and not in a good way. Or die antwood. Sorry.
The
The
Antwood.
The antwood. I'll get it one of these days. Anyway, and not that anyone cares, but he was born 3 years and 2 days earlier than me.
Clearly, we are super, super duper overloaded with positive things to say about this.
The dude's a fucking ghost. I tried to find all this shit on him and like facts and stuff, and there's not a whole lot.
Hey, it's your birthday.
Yeah. He's a Virgo, Shane. So there you go.
Well,
Virgo buddy.
I don't take that to mean anything really, but
you should.
Totally. I think
that's what a Virgo would say.
Yeah.
I say that and I'm borderline Virgo and Libra. So anyway, yeah, I don't have anything else to say about Tom MacDonald. I didn't know he existed. So thank you, Alex, for letting us know he did exist. There are things that we both enjoyed from him, and we both said that we could recommend him to other people.
Yeah, and she may have these same feelings. I don't know because we haven't tried to discuss it. But what I will say, because I don't want to end on a negative note, is again, I do think some of his music now is the stuff he's producing right now. It's really built to challenge the norms or maybe the things that are going on in your head, and you might have a negative reaction to it and you have to question why, and you really go down these rabbit holes that I think are worth going down. It's shit worth thinking about, and I do appreciate that about this artist. It's just that today we didn't cover any of that stuff.
We did not.
And I think, so I'm still interested in hearing the entirety of what's being produced now, but from what we listened to, See You Tomorrow was decent.
Yeah.
It's the best I can give it.
So with that
5 5s.
With that being said, I assume we know who your winner is for the week.
You know, it was
Do not give this long drawn out thing.
It was kind of a close call. I mean, you know, we only covered 3 of his albums, and really it's 4 because one of them's a double. But he had 7 5s, and if I were to extrapolate that up, it's, you know.
Yeah.
And then Nightwish had 51, so I'm not.
Okay. All right. So
what about you?
Yeah.
Because yours is actually a little closer to.
Nope, not at all.
Really? So how close is not at all? Because you seem to be giving similar amounts of 5s and stuff.
2.9 to 3.6.
What about 5s? I'm going to find a metric that's going to make you sound kind of garbage if it kills me.
Double.
Okay, well, that's not so bad.
Double for one artist. Yeah, I don't give out very many 5s, but I'm a firm believer in 4s are great. 4s are great. Yeah, Nightwish. There we go.
I tend to think of 4s as things that I won't listen to again.
See, I don't think that.
But my 4s, I think, are songs that other people might consider 5s, and 3s they've got some value.
3s for me are kind of like, they're not bad, but they're middle of the road. 4s, I'm like, oh, that's good. I could see myself listening to it again. 5s, like, I'm going to seek this out and listen to it again. So for those of you that didn't understand our scales before, maybe you do now.
Yeah.
But Nightwish was definitely my winner.
Yeah, Nightwish won for me.
No.
One
of your favorite bands of all time. Couldn't have guessed that.
I'm going to be perfectly honest. Going into this, I did not expect to review Nightwish as positively as I did. That was my ass. I don't listen to it. Was it really?
What's my stomach?
Good God. I don't listen to a lot of Nightwish all the time anymore like I used to, and I tend to think that my love of them has faded. But when I sit down to actually listen, I'm wrong.
Yeah. And you love being wrong in situations like that.
I do.
Well, now that we've established that Nightwish is great.
Second half of our music list, songs that changed your taste in music. Rayburn, what do you have?
You knew this was coming.
It hasn't come yet. Spit it out. Goddamn.
Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton. It opened up my mind to music country music that wasn't influenced by my dad or generations before. Like Papaw listening to country music or Dad listening to country music. Like most of my country music taste is because it comes from a level of nostalgia from being a kid.
First time maybe you thought country has a soul.
Yeah.
And it's soulful.
Yeah, and apparently I enjoy it. So, yeah, Tennessee Whiskey. And not the original.
There's nothing wrong with the original.
There's absolutely everything wrong with the original.
No.
Yes.
Just think, if the original had never been written, you wouldn't have what you have now.
Chris Stapleton would still be a thing. He would have.
Okay.
Anyway, what's next on your list?
Diallo by Wyclef Jean. This one's a double whammy. This one helped me fall in love with reggae and made me someone who gets fairly obsessive over tracks with ethical sentiments worth hearing. Just right from the outset. I get it. I don't disagree with anything he's saying here. This song discusses the murder of an unarmed civilian and really goes hard at the policing system. He'd go on to perform this at Obama's Nobel Peace Prize ceremony. And looking back on that now, I have to wonder how Wyclef feels about the performance, because while the live version calls for an end to war, mistreatment of immigrants, etc., Obama wound up being little more than a status quo manager in those areas. That's why identity politics does nothing for me anymore. Sure, you may get representation of your gender or skin color in positions of power, and I'm getting looks right now like, why are you fucking talking about politics? Anyway, you might get more representation, but what the fuck good does that do if they're all proving to be corruptible by the very system that keeps your gender or skin color struggling? As someone who wants every person to have the same odds at success, who wants justice for Diallo, for Floyd, for Martin, and so on down a very long list, we've got to do better than identity politics. It's got to be about records and policy positions. The rest is meaningless. End rant. Off of my soapbox. What's your next pick?
Next pick on my list is I'm Not Okay by My Chemical Romance. This was the first time that I felt represented in a song at a period in my life. My parents were separated when this came out, and I was dealing with an internal struggle of what does this mean for the future? What does this mean for future relationships and where I stand as a person? Do I have to choose sides in a situation like this? Which I did not, which is still one of the best decisions that I could have made at the time. So it was a song that helped me express how confused and angry I was at the time. And it's a running joke in my house growing up that I turned into a shell of a dark creature at the time, you know. So I felt represented. And that's one of the reasons why I still really enjoy this song, is it takes me back to that time that
you were an angsty teen finding an outlet.
Yep. I'm not okay, I promise.
Cool.
What's next on your list?
All Is Full of Love by Bjork. I credit this one with changing my notion of what an engrossing song needs to be. And the album as a whole challenged me in lots of other ways as well, making things like repetition and quirkiness easier for me to appreciate. Seeing this song's music video was the first time I'd ever even heard of Bjork. Pretty sure I watched the entire thing with my mouth agape, sitting on the edge of my seat. Getting back to what we were discussing with Neil on the last show about whether or not people ever take the same things away from a song. When making this list, I began realizing the music videos can somewhat provide an answer to that question, if you think about it, because sometimes you see a video and wonder what the hell someone was thinking and releasing that video to that song, you know? And other times you feel like the music video was completely fitting. So I've had both experiences with Bjork videos and think her music tends to be so out there that it really does speak a lot to how apt people are to share commonality of experience. As with most things in life, there's no simple way to guarantee a yes or no, but that inability to predict every emotional reaction makes the common ground so much more satisfying when you find it.
You amaze me with your words.
You don't have to give me compliments.
It amazes me how much words you could say in one breath.
I feel like people tell me that stuff in hopes of shutting me up for good.
No,
Like,
I don't think I could say
stop it.
anything that would shut you up.
Just say some normal shit for once.
Although I do think that sometimes it would not be you. It's the person that you are. But I think that we're at a level to where sometimes we can tell each other to shut the fuck up and the other one not be offended. So
I think what I dislike most about this is I write stuff out and then I have to read this stuff and I get lost if I look away, but I like making eye contact with you when I'm doing the podcast. So it feels a little wrong to me. Anyway, what's your next pick?
My next pick is Naggin' by Yin Yang Twins. This was my first experience with finding a goofy rap song that I loved way more than everyone around me at the time. Like, I grew up with a lot of rap, mainly my brother and my mom at the time. And we had I believe this was off the Me and My Brother CD. Anyway, Yin Yang Twins are highly underrated.
I was going to say, you are big on this group, I know.
I love Yin Yang Twins. I wonder all the time where they went.
My favorite thing in the world that comes of Yin Yang Twins is there's a video of a little boy dancing around to the Whisper song. I love it so much.
I don't know
I'll find it and put it on mentions so you can see it.
Thank you. But yeah, it's just one of those. I used to say this song represented my mom to me a lot because I love my mama, but bitch is always talking. She always talking, which is not a bad thing. She's in the other room. I'd tell her the same thing to her face, but she was the type of person that if certain things weren't done her way, they weren't done the right way. If it wasn't crystal clean, it wasn't clean at all. And that's the household I grew up in with my mom.
I need to be on the record here, finally, with regard to people talking a lot. I've met a few people in my lifetime who really do talk a lot, a lot. And I know they don't mean to or any of that. But as far as in the family goes, I would not say any of those people are in the family. So if you're out there, know that I do not necessarily agree with Rayburn on, God damn, y'all talk too much.
Okay.
We can talk, sure, because that's why we have podcasts, because we like to fucking talk.
That's true. I think that one of the reasons why the podcast works is I think we are some of the most talkative in our family. So usually two of us get to drink and our spouses will shove us in a corner and just be like, fucking talk to each other for a little while. So anyway.
I don't know. I don't have that sensation. I don't know. Maybe it's just you.
Yeah, maybe. What's your next pick?
Here's your answer for the question earlier. The first song that made me lean toward bands like Nightwish is called Nightfall by Blind Guardian. While not the first great concept album I ever heard, Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime holds that title. This one was my intro to symphonic metal, a path which quickly led me to discover Nightwish. Much of Blind Guardian's work takes inspiration from the work of J.R.R. Tolkien, author of the Lord of the Rings series. This disc follows his book The Silmarillion, and this group does such a great job of giving Tolkien's work life through sound. What I remember most when thinking about this artist is trying my damnedest to find anyone in my life who could appreciate them, and everyone looking at me like I'd lost my damn mind for making them endure this foreign fantasy stuff. I even thought that my uncles, that Eric and Mike, were going to be big into it, and I don't know that they ever were. I've continued thinking about that experience when things like The Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit films were taking over the planet. Same with things like Game of Thrones. If you really enjoy those worlds, there should be plenty here for you to enjoy, and that is a hill I will die on.
Moving on to my pick, it's I've Got a Name by Jim Croce. I first heard this off the Quentin Tarantino's Django soundtrack, and it was the start of my love and appreciation for 70s kind of folk music, which a lot of Jim Croce, Fleetwood Mac, a lot of music at that time. I don't know what else to say other than it was just, I didn't really know that there was music like that because I grew up with a lot of 80s and 90s. My dad wasn't listening to 70s folk music growing up. Neither was my mom. So that kind of was my introduction to it, and I learned to appreciate it for what it was. I know you think it sounds old as hell.
No, what I was thinking is that I think your hearing can be selective as well, because Django came out long after we had started taking trips to the cabin, and there's plenty of Jim that was played on the way to and from the cabins. I know your dad definitely plays a lot of old music that catches. I'm 100% behind this artist, this song, all of it being an expansive thing. Jim Croce is spectacular.
This was the time. I do know that we were taking cabin trips and Jim was being played. I mean, you've said on a past episode that there was that one time that Blue just popped off with knowing all the words to, was it Bad Bad Leroy Brown or? Yeah.
It was one of them. And one of the upbeat tracks, not Roller Derby Queen. I'm going to put the video, the live performance of Operator on the YouTube Mentions playlist as well, because that has to be seen.
Okay. I think that this was just the moment that I found something that struck a chord with me personally. And then that started the branch of all these different songs and all these different artists. And it's something that I listen to a lot. So
yeah,
there we go. The love grows. What's your next pick?
Next pick is The Brilliant Dance by Dashboard Confessional. I recall being rather obsessed with Jules. I cannot talk today. Jules. I recall. I recall being rather obsessed with Jules' debut album, Pieces of You, and wondering, because that album is pretty acoustic throughout, if an all-acoustic album would be something I consistently crave hearing. And just as I'd begun believing that rare change of pace in a musical foundation must be necessary, this Dashboard album came into my life. And it's not just acoustic, it's literally just Chris and his guitar, and it's wonderful. It also made me feel much less strange for being that person who mostly wanted to make this kind of music, not that overproduced or full band sound. And who knows, maybe someday I'll rise to the challenge of making something that's worthwhile. Probably not, because this is an amazing album. The Brilliant Dance is the first song on that CD.
Listen it.
Last
on my list is Skinny Love by Bon Iver. I had already talked about Bon Iver once. Bon Iver was my introduction to underground indie music in a way. Being able to appreciate his music led me to being able to appreciate bands like Copeland and...
Dude, I've been sitting over here. You've talked about this artist a handful of times.
What?
Holy shit. Okay.
What?
So I consistently keep thinking that this is an artist I've never heard of.
Bon Iver?
I've never heard the name said out loud. I always thought it was Bon Iver.
It's Bon Iver. There you go. You have definitely heard Bon Iver.
It sounds like you're saying Bonnie, like as a first name, and then Ver as a last name. I'm sorry to the people I'm offending with this ghetto. I don't know shit.
That's fine.
Here, I'm going to pile on while I'm here.
Okay.
Skinny Love.
Uh-huh.
I want the Birdie version. That's my jam.
I know you like that version better. I'm just saying... I know you've played it, which is funny because I've sent you Bon Iver songs before and I'm like, listen to this. You'll like this. And I don't know if you listened to it, but I know that
we listened to the Blood Bank EP, I think, at one point.
Yeah, that's good.
That's Bon Iver, right?
Yeah, that's Bon Iver.
That's Bon Iver.
But he was just my introduction to a lot of the underground indie that I like and have a playlist on Spotify, which I can make public if anyone would like to check it out. So, I mean, it was just the start of something else that I found on my own and kind of developed my own personal tastes and genres that a lot of people at the time, because I think this is right before college, so I hadn't gotten that full hipster experience that I had in college when it came to music. So it was something that I found on my own and was proud to have found on my own, which is funny because Shane gave me a Copeland CD like years before that.
Well, that's when I knew there was hope for you.
Yeah.
You went from Chingy and Yin Yang Twins, and suddenly you were listening to Bon Iver.
Oh, I still get fucking down with Chingy and Yin Yang Twins.
I know.
Don't let
There's
me fool
nothing
you.
wrong with it. I just meant it reminded me of myself as a kid being in this little bubble of music.
Being told that we hate country, everybody should hate country, and we hate these things.
I was never told that.
I know, but I definitely was. Anyway, moving on to your last pick.
Whew.
Here we go.
Stick Stickly by Attack Attack. I know some people who immediately dismiss this song for a number of reasons, including the music video, and I kind of get why, but hear me out. In my opinion, this track is a true challenge of just how much musical variety you can handle. We're talking metal, pop, screamo, dubstep, more, all in a single song. It's one of the most unique things you'll ever hear, even if you absolutely hate it. And I had good reason to hate it because my intro to this song came while playing Black Ops multiplayer, and there was some kid I kept getting paired with in games who wouldn't stop talking massive shit to everyone. Me being the troll, I was getting a kick out of it. But then he started playing random music, which is almost always the absolute worst thing to encounter while gaming. I fucking hate when people do that. And I was just about to mute him when I heard this song start changing its stripes, as it does a number of times throughout. Goddamn, what a weird fucking song. And you feel at any point like, I should hate this, but I'm loving it. Anyway, I stopped gaming just to go track down the song while I could still remember some of the lyrics. And anyway, that's my list. Hope it rocks your world.
Thus concludes another list.
Yeah, for another list, everybody clap. Yay.
Sounds like fapping.
Thank you guys again for listening. We've got some very exciting things coming up. We're not going to talk about them yet, but stay tuned, and in a few weeks, you will start to see more from us than you were anticipating, and I very much look forward to getting us there.
More than people probably want. Let's draw from the listener jam jar.
Well, first, let's talk about the fact that we're only drawing from the listener jam jar because next week is your pick, which was?
The Temptations.
Yeah. So let's see. Did you want to draw? Can I draw?
You can draw. We going to Motown, y'all.
I'll be responsible for whatever comes out this week.
Whatever you draw, if it's bad, I'm going to fully blame you the entire week. I love when you draw and you give me this face.
So,
who is it?
This recommendation was given over by my friend Kelly, who is a long distance friend I've talked about for years. It's like a pen pal sort of thing, and really great person. She's been sending me music for the longest time, and a lot of my recommendations here have come from her. I didn't find out about this artist from her, but I'm fucking glad she put it in the jar. The artist is Jeff Buckley.
This is going to be a good week for you. You love Jeff Buckley.
And you love the Temptations.
I know.
I love the Temptations.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be a good...
Do you not love Jeff Buckley?
I've only listened to a handful of Jeff Buckley.
Yeah, the problem is most likely that whenever, because I'm a trolley motherfucker, the first time I play Jeff Buckley for most people, it's Alligator Wine.
Yes.
Which it's not the best foot forward for Jeff Buckley.
Yep.
I'm just trying to catch people so they go listen to more of it.
So I take it you will be picking the Jeff Buckley albums and I will be picking the Temptation albums?
This is correct.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Alex and Kelly.
Yes.
For your recommendations. We love getting recommendations from our listeners. And if you would like to make a recommendation, feel free to hit us up on any social media platform. Or if you have our numbers, just text us because, hey, that's a thing.
And seriously, Alex, thank you for the recommendation.
Yes.
I know we did shit all over this artist essentially today, but I feel like it would have been a better experience if we were covering the more current stuff that we couldn't get our hands on.
Well, that's going to do it for this week. Come find us online and let us know what you want to hear next, because it's what you choose to share that ultimately makes your melody unforgettable. Remember, you can visit our merch store, teespring.com/ratedradio. And with that, we're gone again until next time.
Please stop tickling Rayburn's throat and fill your world with music.